Listen closely, Stoic. We live in a world addicted to explaining itself. People overshare, overjustify, and sometimes practically beg just to feel seen. They send the third text after the first two go unanswered. They rehearse the perfect explanation for someone who already stopped listening. But that's not you. Not anymore. A grounded man doesn't chase attention. A grounded woman doesn't beg to be understood. Someone who has actually done the inner work doesn't explain themselves to a world that never asked with real curiosity in the first place. They know something most people never learn. Silence isn't emptiness. Silence is strength, fully loaded and completely under your control. Think about what most people do the moment they feel hurt, dismissed, or misread. They rush. They chase. They try to patch things up by explaining themselves to someone who already made their decision. That's not courage, even though it wears courage's clothes. It's fear, dressed up and trying to pass as confidence. Someone doesn't answer your call. So you text again. Then again. You type out a long, honest paragraph, hoping if you just explain it well enough, they'll finally see your worth. But here's the part nobody wants to hear. The more you explain, the more you beg, the more power quietly slips out of your hands. And that's not the way of a steady mind. The old Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood the weight of silence long before any of us were born. Not because they were cold or numb, but because they'd figured something out. The moment you place your peace in someone else's hands, you've already lost a piece of your own control. When you chase someone's attention, when you beg to be understood, you're quietly saying, "My calm depends on how you respond to me." That's not peace. That's a cage you built yourself and handed them the key to. Real strength looks different. It looks like someone being disrespected and simply walking away without another word, not out of pride, but because their dignity has never needed to raise its voice. It doesn't chase. It doesn't explain. It just quietly steps back. This kind of silence isn't a void. It's discipline. It's self-respect, fully awake. It says, "I don't need you to hear me in order to hear myself clearly." And here's the strange part. This silence unsettles people far more than any argument could, because the moment you stop reacting, they lose whatever grip they thought they had on you. So today we're going to walk through 6 truths, 6 reasons silence might be the sharpest tool a steady mind can carry, and why the people who master it stop chasing, stop begging, and stop explaining themselves altogether. If you've ever given too much to someone who gave too little back, if you've ever been misunderstood by people who never really tried to understand you, if you've ever chased someone who had already decided to walk away, this is for you. Let this be the reminder you didn't know you needed today. Before we start with the first truth, do one small thing for me. If any part of this already feels true, drop a comment with this line: "My silence is my strength." Now, let's get into it. Truth 1. Your silence is felt louder than your words ever were. Here's something strange you've probably noticed before without naming it. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop chasing, people suddenly start thinking. That's the paradox sitting underneath all of this. Silence doesn't push. It pulls. Think back to the last time someone hurt you. Someone who went cold, ignored you, or brushed you off like you didn't matter. Every instinct in your body probably screamed, "Say something. Defend yourself. Prove your worth right now." But here's what actually happens. The more you talk, the less they truly listen. The more you chase, the faster they move away. The more you explain, the less weight your words seem to carry. But when you go quiet, something shifts. Suddenly, your absence gets noticed far more than your presence ever did. There's an old saying that if someone can't understand your silence, they probably wouldn't have understood your words either. The Stoics grasped this centuries ago, long before modern psychology gave it a name. Silence makes people uncomfortable in a way noise simply can't. When you go still instead of chasing, when you withdraw instead of reacting, you force the other person to sit with something uncomfortable, their own behavior. Silence works like a mirror held up at exactly the right angle. It says, "I noticed what you did. I felt how you treated me, but I respect myself too much to explain that to someone who already decided not to care." That kind of silence has nothing to do with ego. It comes from clarity, plain and simple. You start to realize something important. If they truly cared, they'd reach out on their own. If they respected you, they wouldn't need 3 follow-up messages to understand your value. So you go quiet, and in that quiet, you take back the energy you'd been handing away for free. You stop spending yourself trying to be understood by people who barely understand themselves. You stop trying to heal a wound through more conversation, because some wounds actually close faster in silence than in 100 more words. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Your silence will unsettle people who expected you to beg. It will confuse them, make them wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why hasn't she said anything? That's exactly the moment power quietly shifts back into your hands. Because your silence says one thing they can't argue with. You don't owe them anything anymore. Not even an explanation. Truth too. In silence, you finally hear yourself. The world is loud almost every second of the day. But silence is where you actually get to listen. Not to anyone else. To yourself. In moments of heartbreak, betrayal, or confusion, most people instinctively run toward noise. They call 3 or 4 friends. They scroll for hours hoping something numbs the feeling. Some even confront the person who hurt them, hoping the right conversation will somehow fix a situation that was never really about conversation in the first place. A grounded mind does something different entirely. It goes quiet. Not because the pain isn't real, but because it understands that real clarity rarely comes from more noise. It comes from stillness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, again and again, that most of our suffering doesn't come from the event itself, but from the story we quietly attach to it. A story we always have the power to rewrite. When you get truly silent, your mind slows down. And once it slows down, the truth tends to rise on its own. Without being forced, you start noticing things like, they never actually respected me. I just wasn't ready to admit it. I'm not upset that they left. I'm upset that I stayed as long as I did. I don't actually need closure from them. I need peace with myself. These realizations never show up in a text message thread. They show up in the quiet hours. Once you stop trying to explain and start actually listening, silence gives you room to separate emotion from principle. When you're hurt, your emotions tend to scream, chase them, explain yourself, prove your value. But underneath all that noise, your deeper values speak much more quietly. Protect your dignity, guard your peace, let this one go. This is exactly why the Stoics never rushed into decisions. They avoided choosing anything in the heat of anger. Instead, they built in a kind of sacred pause, a still moment before the storm had any chance to speak for them. Modern culture tells you the opposite constantly. Speak your mind immediately. Let them know exactly how you feel. Never let anyone disrespect you without a response. But here's what gets missed constantly. You don't earn respect by reacting the loudest. You earn it by staying grounded while everyone else spins out around you. The quieter you become, the more people reveal who they really are, all on their own. You stop needing to ask whether they care. Their actions answer that question for you. You stop begging for clarity, because the truth surfaces on its own, right there in your stillness. Most importantly, you stop simply reacting to life and start responding to it with real intention. Silence isn't passive here. It's sharp, focused, deliberate. It's a doorway most people walk right past without ever noticing it's there. So the next time you're unsure, overwhelmed, or clouded by emotion, don't act right away. Get still instead. The answer was never really out there. It's inside you. And silence is how you finally hear it. Truth 3. Begging for closure is a quiet betrayal of yourself. Let's name something honestly that most people avoid admitting out loud. Chasing closure often causes more damage than the original wound ever did. We all want it. That final, honest conversation. The clean explanation. The ending that finally feels complete. But here's the uncomfortable truth underneath that craving. If someone genuinely cared about you, you wouldn't have to beg them for closure. They'd offer it freely, with respect, without you having to ask twice. And if they don't offer it, your own silence becomes the closure instead. There's an old Stoic idea worth sitting with here. Don't just talk about your principles, actually live them. At first, that might not seem related to closure, but look closer. The moment you stop chasing someone else's explanation and start living according to your own values, you stop needing their approval to validate what you already know is true. Your pain is real, but needing them to explain exactly why they hurt you? That's handing them the keys to your own healing. Here's the pattern that repeats itself over and over. They hurt you. You demand answers. They respond with coldness, silence, or vague excuses. You end up feeling worse than before you asked. And the cycle keeps spinning until you finally realize closure was never something they were ever going to hand you. It's something you give to yourself, the moment you finally go quiet and walk forward without them. It's tempting to convince yourself, if I just explain how I feel one more time, if I lay out my side clearly enough, if I get one last honest talk, everything will finally make sense. But here's what actually tends to happen. You end up pouring your heart out to someone who already made peace with hurting you. You explain yourself to someone who's already decided how this ends. You spend real energy hoping someone else will fix expectations that were only ever yours to manage. That's not closure. That's quietly abandoning yourself in the hope someone else will save you from doing it. The old Stoics understood how easily emotion, especially wounded pride, can cloud clear judgment. Part of you wants to be seen as the reasonable one. Part of you wants them to finally understand. Part of you wants one clean moment where it all clicks for them. But chasing that moment usually comes at the cost of your own growth. Real closure looks different. It's recognizing that what they gave you really was the most they had to offer. It's accepting that no amount of explaining will suddenly make someone more respectful, more honest, or more caring than they've already shown you they're capable of being. It's letting go of a conversation that was probably never going to happen anyway. And right there, in that acceptance, your power quietly returns to you. The people who hurt you don't need to understand your worth. You do. The people who walked away don't need a formal goodbye. You're allowed to say it silently, on your own terms. The ones who went cold don't need a second chance to explain themselves properly. Your own silence already answered that for you. So stop drafting the message you'll never send. Stop rehearsing the perfect explanation in your head. Stop chasing closure from people who were never truly open to begin with. Go quiet instead. And let that quiet become the space where your self-respect finally has room to breathe again. Quick pause here. If any of this is landing, go ahead and hit subscribe. It really helps this channel keep making videos exactly like this one. Now, let's keep going. Truth 4. Silence reveals what words are often used to hide. Something quietly powerful happens the moment you go silent. The masks start to slip. Words can be beautiful, but they can also be one of the easiest tools for hiding the truth. People say what sounds good in the moment. They say what they think you want to hear. They offer up explanations, justifications, apologies that sound sincere on the surface. But silence can't lie the way words sometimes do. What someone does eventually speaks so loudly it drowns out whatever they said. The Stoics understood this at a deep level. They never judged someone by their apologies alone. They judged them by their patterns over time. And the clearest way to actually see someone's pattern is to stop talking for a while and simply watch. Silence, in this sense, isn't passive at all. It's observant, almost like a quiet form of paying attention that most people never bother to practice. When you stop explaining yourself constantly, you give people room to reveal exactly who they are, and they usually will, whether they mean to or not. The person who genuinely respects you will notice you're quiet and reach out with something real and honest. The person who was only ever using your energy will disappear entirely, because they never actually valued you to begin with. The person who was manipulating the relationship will grow frustrated or confused, not because you did anything wrong, but because they've suddenly lost the control they assumed they had. Here's something most people never fully grasp. Words can build a convincing illusion. Silence tends to reveal what's actually real underneath it. You don't need to confront anyone directly. You don't need to run a test on them. Just quietly pull your words back and watch what happens. Notice who checks in on you once you go quiet. Notice who vanishes the moment you stop giving so freely. Notice who gets visibly frustrated when they can't provoke a reaction out of you anymore. That's the truth showing itself, and sometimes it's a little brutal, but it's necessary. Sometimes silence stings more than 100 direct confrontations ever could. People can argue against your words, dismiss your opinions, poke holes in your logic. But they can't argue with your absence. They can't debate your stillness. When you stay quiet, you stop feeding whatever illusion they were relying on. You stop playing along with emotional games designed to keep you off balance. You stop pretending their words carry more weight than their actual behavior. And this particular kind of silence brings a strange, welcome clarity. You stop needing people to explain why they treated you poorly, because their distance, their silence, their choices already told you everything you needed to know. You start trusting consistent patterns over convincing promises. You start reading energy instead of just listening to explanations. You begin valuing what's actually real over what simply sounds good out loud. That's what steady character looks like in practice. It's not cold, it's clear. It's not distant, it's discerning. It's not emotionless, it's simply disciplined. So the next time someone tries to talk their way back into your life with all the right words, don't rush to answer immediately. Watch first, stay quiet, and let the truth reveal itself without needing a single word from you. Truth 5. Refusing to explain yourself is the highest form of confidence. Let's be honest for a moment. When someone misunderstands you, it stings. You want to correct the record. You want to explain that you're not what they've decided you are. You want to say, that's simply not who I am. But someone truly grounded doesn't go chasing understanding from other people. They look for it within themselves first. Why? Because explaining yourself endlessly to people who've already made up their minds isn't really confidence. It's the fear of being misjudged wearing a confident mask. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself not to waste the limited time he had left speculating endlessly about what other people thought or believed about him, unless it actually served some shared, meaningful purpose. Sit with that for a second. Every time you try hard to convince someone of your worth, your honesty, or your loyalty, you're spending limited time and energy chasing someone else's opinion of you. That's not real strength. That's quiet insecurity in disguise. The person who doesn't feel the need to explain themselves constantly isn't arrogant. They're simply at peace because they already know their intentions are clean and their actions already line up with their values. Their worth was never something that needed translating for people who never cared enough to understand it in the first place. This kind of detachment isn't easy to practice. People might call you cold. They might call you distant or unbothered. You might even lose a few people who once felt close to you. But here's the truth worth remembering. Losing people who never really saw you clearly in the first place isn't actually a loss. It's alignment, quietly working in your favor. Here's something most people won't admit out loud. Most people don't actually want to understand you deeply. They want to control the story they've already built about who you are. And when your silence quietly breaks that story apart, they often get frustrated, not because you hurt them, but because you stopped playing along with their version of events. When you stop over-explaining, you start leading with steady energy instead. You stop justifying your distance from people who drain you. You stop defending your need for peace to people who never respected it anyway. You simply act, calmly and clearly. And the people who are actually meant to stay in your life will understand that silence without needing a single footnote attached to it. This kind of energy is rare, and it makes certain people uncomfortable. It makes manipulators lose interest fast. It makes people who were only using you quietly step back on their own. But the ones who remain will respect you far more deeply, because they'll know you're not willing to shrink your own value just to fit someone else's confusion. That's the quiet confidence we're talking about here. Not loud, not desperate, not performed for an audience. Just calm, steady, and completely unshakable. You don't owe anyone a long explanation for choosing your own peace. You don't need to convince anyone that your boundaries are reasonable. You don't need to speak your worth into rooms where your silence has already said everything that needed saying. Truth 6. Your quiet detachment teaches the lesson words never could. There's something uniquely powerful about someone who simply chooses to walk away. Not with anger, not with a dramatic scene, but with quiet, steady detachment. No slammed doors. No long emotional final message. You just step back, and somehow, in that silence, you end up teaching a lesson no amount of arguing ever could have delivered. Seneca once observed that we tend to suffer more in our own imagination than we ever do in actual reality. That idea fits perfectly here, because the real discomfort usually begins the moment the other person's mind starts replaying your silence over and over. Once you stop responding, they're left alone with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own memory of exactly how they treated you, sitting inside the quiet echo of your absence. Your detachment communicates something words rarely manage to say as clearly. I no longer need to prove myself to you. I won't stay somewhere I'm not respected. I've realized real peace matters more to me than staying connected at any cost. Most people have no idea how to handle this kind of quiet energy. They're used to people who react loudly, who beg, who fight to be understood, who eventually break down just to be heard. But when you go quiet instead, you step out of that entire emotional game. You exit with your dignity fully intact. And your silence forces them to face themselves, whether they want to or not. They expect you to chase after them. They expect a fight to keep you around. They expect you to come crawling back eventually. And when you simply don't, it unsettles them far more deeply than any argument ever could. Because suddenly they realize they no longer have access to your energy. They don't have the upper hand anymore. They genuinely didn't think you'd actually follow through and leave. That's usually the exact moment real change begins, if it ever does. People rarely learn from being shouted at. They learn from distance. They rarely change just because you demanded respect out loud. They sometimes change, if they're capable of it at all, once your absence shows them clearly what they actually lost. And if they never change, that's all right too. Because that particular lesson was never really meant for them in the first place. It was meant for you. You learned that your peace doesn't require anyone else's permission. You learned that not everyone in your life has earned an explanation from you. You learned that sometimes silence isn't just strength, it's genuine healing in motion. When you detach quietly like this, you remove yourself from patterns that were never serving you. You stop pouring your energy out in front of people incapable of holding it with care. You stop trying to describe storms to people who've never once stepped outside. Detachment doesn't mean you stopped caring altogether. It means you finally started caring enough about your own well-being to stop leaving it in places where it kept getting overlooked. This is exactly why steady, grounded people rarely react on impulse. They don't go chasing after fairness. They don't beg for validation. They let their silence speak clearly on their behalf. You don't have to announce, "I'm done." You can simply be done. Quietly and completely. That's real strength. And it's exactly the kind of silence that unsettles anyone who assumed they still had control over you. So don't be afraid to step back when it's time. Go quiet and let people sit in the space where your voice used to be. Bringing it all together, if you've made it this far, you probably already feel something shifting quietly inside you. A realization you've maybe always known deep down, but somehow forgot along the way. You don't have to chase, beg, or over-explain yourself to prove you're worthy of respect. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to be heard clearly. You don't have to keep defending your side to feel understood. You don't have to sacrifice your own peace just to keep someone else comfortable. That's really the foundation this entire idea rests on. It was never about being cold. It's about clarity. It was never about shutting people out of love. It's about shutting chaos out of your life. The old Stoics taught something worth remembering here. Silence isn't weakness. It's control. It's the simple refusal to waste your limited energy on things beneath your standards. It's the quiet confidence of knowing your presence carries weight, even in the moments when it's absent. There will still be plenty of moments when your emotions want to take the wheel completely, when you'll feel that familiar urge to explain everything, to argue your case, to prove your worth all over again. But in those exact moments, remember this clearly, your silence might not win you the argument, but it will win you back yourself, piece by piece. Because every single time you choose not to react, you build a little more inner peace. Every time you walk away quietly instead of chasing, you build a little more self-respect. Every time you keep your dignity fully intact, you build the kind of quiet strength nobody can ever take away from you. And if there's really only one thing worth carrying away from everything we covered today, let it be this. Let your silence be your final word. Not out of spite, not out of pride, but out of steady, unshakable self-respect. If this video gave you something worth carrying into your week, do me one favor and subscribe. It helps this channel keep going, and there's plenty more of this kind of grounded truth still coming. Before you go, drop this final line in the comments. My silence is my strength, and it's the loudest thing I own.